What's up, guys? Welcome back. WWE SummerSlam 2023 is in the books, and we just got finished watching it together. This is the very same stream. We've just been here for the past 4 hours watching the show together. I just took a quick break to switch over the overlays there and to stretch my legs a bit, and we are here to talk about it. Now, the first thing I want from all of you guys is to give me your grades of the show. Let me know what you think, A, B, C, or D, or 1 through 10. I have to be honest, this wasn't, maybe I'm a little bit underwhelmed by how this show was. This show was highlighted to me by 3 things. The Cody and Brock match, which I thought was great. The Gunther and Drew match, which I also thought was great. And Io Sky cashing in her Money in the Bank to win the championship in that triple threat. The rest of it, it wasn't necessarily bad, but there was a couple of things that actually disappointed me. I was hoping to see a title change in the Seth Rollins and Finn Balor match, or at least to cash in there. And, you know, the way the story was going, I wouldn't have even been disappointed if Jey Uso would have won the title tonight. I thought it would have been great. One of the potential finishes for tonight's main event that's been on all of our radars has been Jimmy Uso returning to turn on his brother and helping Roman Reigns win. That has been on the radar for a while. And the fact that they did that tonight was, I was hoping they would get a little bit more creative than that. So I'm not saying SummerSlam was a bad show at all. I very much enjoyed it. We had a blast here watching it. Ricochet and Logan Paul was off the hook. LA Knight did, in fact, win that battle royal. The triple threat women's match that started off so terrible and slow with the wardrobe malfunction and all of that turned out to be phenomenal in the end. That Act 3 was so beautifully done. Bianca, Asuka, and Charlotte all did a great job, and then Io Sky coming out at the end was kind of predictable once Bianca injured her knee on the outside of the ring, and it kind of made you think if that's what they were setting up for, and they were. The fans loved it. Io Sky looked to be thrilled, and 1 year after she returned with Dakota Kai and Bayley, the 3 of them reunite there in the ring to celebrate with Io Sky. I loved that. There was a lot about this show to like. There really, really was. So I'll be interested to see and to hear all of your opinions as we go through here. My notes are very light because normally I'm watching these pay-per-views by myself and I can type out a long document of all my thoughts and all my notes. All I really did here was write down the matches, the winners, and a couple of the spots. So this is going to be kind of a casual review. Let's kick off SummerSlam with Ricochet and Logan Paul. And this match was pretty much what we thought. Now the finish saw Ricochet take out Logan Paul. He falls face first. He's got his arm. He's under the bottom rope and his arm is kind of draped over the apron. Somebody comes up, some member of his crew comes and crouches down, kneels over and places some brass knuckles on his hand. He nails Ricochet with it, who sells like a wet noodle. It was a brilliant sell by Ricochet, and Logan Paul got the win. Now, this was fine with me because we predicted Logan Paul to win, and I'm glad that they protected Ricochet. At least they made him use knucks to beat him. You know, it wasn't like a straight-up clean win. It protects Ricochet somewhat, and it's a finish that I can live with. If Logan Paul is going to win, winning this way, I was fine with it. Crowd loved the match. They had a great time. Logan Paul had a ton of heat, and Samantha Irvin had to announce Logan Paul as the winner, even though she was matching him with her outfit. She was wearing a yellow dress, and Logan Paul was wearing all yellow. Logan Paul also looked a lot like Bianca Belair's gear tonight. They had similar gear as well. Ricochet, I don't know what was going on with his gear, but Logan Paul got the win there with the brass knuckles. And then they show us the graphic for Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes. That's going to be match 2. And a lot of people were saying, oh my God, I can't believe this match is up next. And I'm like, that makes sense. Makes sense that Brock would want to go on early as well, because this is going to be his blow off with Cody. I don't think he's got anything going on after this. He's probably going to go home for a while. So let's get his match done as well. Now, there was no stipulation in this match, which was highly talked about this week, that we thought, based on the fact that this was the 3rd match, that how can you not have a stip? I thought for sure they were going to do a Texas bull rope match or something. Forgot to straighten out my mic. A Texas bull rope match or some sort of Dusty match that he helped make famous, you know? But instead we got none of that. And I'm wondering if it's because they had a lot of stuff planned for the tribal combat. Maybe they didn't want any other anything goes matches to happen. Maybe Cody and Brock were confident enough in their ability that they didn't need a stipulation to deliver a good match. But once the match got going and you saw kind of what the story was Brock beating the hell out of Cody and doing that repetitive count out spot where he'd kick him out of the ring. Referee would start counting 10. Cody would come back in. Brock would deliver more punishment, throw him out again. And Cody would just keep coming back. The entirety of the first 12 minutes of the match was just Brock beating the hell out of Cody until Cody starts making the heroic recovery, the heroic comeback to where he was able to absorb and take all of that punishment from Brock and then fight back hard. His mom was in the front row. And the two of them ended up having a really good match. I mean, they told a great story. Brock, by the way, I have to mention how stupidly, ridiculously, physically awesome he looked. He looks better now at age 46 or whatever he is than he did when he first came back in 2011. Like, he is just extremely scary looking. He is not, his intimidation, his physical intimidation has not faltered at all the older he got. If anything, it's gotten gnarlier. He is just a grizzly bear, and he's terrifying. So he's beating the hell out of Cody. Cody, though, has the heroic comeback, and he fights hard. He takes down Brock. He literally fought him out of his pants. Brock, we had a lot of war. Brock and Charlotte both had difficulty with their stuff tonight, but Brock Lesnar's shorts get completely ripped. And I don't know how that happened or what part of the match it did, but Cody ended up hitting Brock with 3 crossroads. None of them looked great, but Cody, I mean, Brock is a big guy, and having to muscle him up and do that, they didn't look good, but Cody got them all in. He pinned Brock Lesnar, beat him completely clean, which I am very grateful that Brock Lesnar did that. I was saying that years ago about John Cena. Same thing about Brock Lesnar is that when he was being made to look so invincible, when he was beating so many people and ending the streak, and what he did to John Cena and being the most dominant force WWE has seen since 1986 Hogan. I said there's going to come a time when he's building up all these wins that when he gets beat, it really shakes the foundation of the wrestling world. And when you're able to beat him because of his strength and value now, years from now, when he starts putting people over, these are going to be star-making victories, people beating Brock Lesnar and becoming a star because of it. And a lot of people thought that back in 2016, WWE might have wasted one of those victories on Brock with Goldberg, but Brock maintained that Brock aura no matter how many times he won or lost, and putting over Cody here was really nice to see. And then after the match, you could tell they were going to do something because both guys were kind of looking at each other. Brock, laying on the mat, seemed to have accepted his loss, and he got up and showed Cody respect. And the two guys shook hands. I think they even hugged, and Brock raised his hand. I liked to see that. That was actually kind of nice. You know, the handshake spot doesn't always work, but in this instance, these two guys had a brutal war, and Cody earned Brock's respect. Now, we never really got an explanation as to why Brock Lesnar attacked Cody to begin with. We didn't really know what the story was here between these two, but I think with WWE, if they have plans to take Cody on this story and this journey getting back to WrestleMania, along the way, you know, beating the likes of Brock Lesnar, and who knows who next. Would be great if he could beat Randy Orton or a John Cena on the way to the Royal Rumble, but he might now be forced right into the World Heavyweight Championship scene, because I've always been wondering what Cody's going to do for the rest of the year. If they do plan to have Cody and Roman at WrestleMania next year, which is still a ways off, what does Cody do between now and then? And I said that Balor and Seth and Priest hopefully will continue their issue going past SummerSlam. But since Balor lost tonight, which we'll talk about in a minute, I'm not sure if Seth really has a whole lot of business left to do with the Judgment Day at this point. And now it might just be with Balor and Priest. They've got an issue with each other because of what went down. We'll talk about it later. And that might free up Rollins now to be confronted by Cody. And maybe that is where we get the men's, that is where we get the men's Money in the Bank briefcase cash in. Maybe in the Cody and Seth match. So maybe Cody again is close to the championship. Maybe not the championship he wants, but they do give him a title match against Rollins or whatever, and the two men are down in the ring or whatever, or Cody's got Seth down, and then Priest comes out, cashes in the Money in the Bank, wins the World Heavyweight title, out from underneath Cody and Seth Rollins, and now Cody can go back and the rest of the year head towards the Royal Rumble, potentially win it. Because remember, last year he came in at number 30, and I think Gunther was number 1. Do I have that right? So this year it should be reversed. Maybe Cody comes in at number 1 and wins the Rumble and then goes on to Mania. I don't know. But since Rollins appears to be done with the Judgment Day, at least for right now, and Cody is done with Brock, how do those two not come together without somebody interfering with it? Jumping in, and trying to feud with Cody first or Rollins or whatever. I don't know. Feels like Cody now, it's going to be hard for them to keep, it's going to be hard to keep him away from the championship if you're WWE creative based on the win he got here. After Cody and Brock was the Slim Jim Battle Royal. So WWE has just partnered up with Slim Jim for the largest endorsement deal in company history. It's going to be a multi-platform deal carrying us all the way through WrestleMania next year. So get ready to see a whole lot of Slim Jim. This was the Slim Jim Battle Royal. I was hoping that this whole entire thing was created so LA Knight could win it, because LA Knight is super over and the fans love him. And if WWE was foolish enough to keep him off this show, I was really going to have my doubts about LA Knight. We were hoping that maybe he would be challenging for the U.S. title against Austin Theory. That turned out not to be the case either. And instead, he qualified for this Battle Royal, and luckily, he wound up winning it. MVP came out and announced a returning Omos to this thing, so there was a chance he could win it. Grayson Waller was in this thing as well. So was Austin Theory. But in the end, I think it came down to LA Knight and Sheamus, who battled last night on SmackDown and had that little hiccup there on the top rope, that botch. They kind of recreated it here and got it right. And in the end, LA Knight was able to eliminate Sheamus and win the Battle Royal, much to the delight of Motown. They did the whole LA Knight thing. So this is something, but again, it's a Slim Jim Battle Royal. What does this mean? AJ Styles was one of the finalists in this thing as well, but what would it benefit AJ Styles' career at this point to win the Slim Jim fucking Battle Royal? So I wish I could be optimistic about this, but we remember when Cesaro won the first Andre the Giant Battle Royal, everybody was calling for his push as well, and he won that thing in heroic, awesome fashion, body slamming the Big Show over the top rope, becoming the inaugural winner of the Andre Battle Royal, and it got him absolutely nowhere. So with LA Knight, I have this weird thing in my gut, and I don't know how to describe it. Like with LA Knight, I see how popular he is. I want WWE to capitalize when they see opportunities like this. But with all the chatter, with all the debating, with all the talking about LA Knight, when is the push coming? Crowd likes him. Oh, is WWE going to screw him up? Oh, Vince doesn't like him. Or, oh, he had attitude problems before. Or Wade Keller says that if his push doesn't work, it's because of his attitude. All this stuff. I don't know what it all means. I just feel like at the end of the day, it's going to translate into it's not going to work out. I just feel like something's going to happen with this push. Don't even know whose fault it's technically going to be, his, WWE's, whatever. I just feel like something is going to stop it. And I just don't know what that factor is. It just feels like that's what's going to happen. And I hate to say that. I really hope WWE, when they see opportunities like this, they pounce on them, because this guy's money and the fans like him. So we will see what the Slim Jim Battle Royal leads to for LA Knight this coming week on TV as well. Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey was up next. This was an MMA rules match. I really liked the video package they put together and ran on Raw last week. They replayed that here tonight. And this was an MMA rules match. It was going to be contested by submission or knockout only. They explained the rules. Both women made their entrances, and they were really laying it in at first. Now, we just came off of Ricochet and Logan Paul, followed by Brock and Cody, and then LA Knight lighting the crowd up, winning the Battle Royal. I felt like the crowd was a little flat for this one at first. Plus, this is an MMA style match, so a lot of the offense is mat based. They're not moving around a whole lot. There's no Spanish flies and flips and shit going on in this. They're just kind of wrestling around the ring, counters and strikes. And man, they were laying it in hard. Shayna had a good early Holly Holm type of kick onto Ronda that put her down. And then later, Ronda caught Shayna right to the face with a knee that definitely swelled her eye up. And they were laying it in, man. They probably agreed to just go out there, fight hard, and apologize later. And Ronda, if this is going to be the end for her, putting her friend over here, which she did, and Shayna was able to choke out Ronda Rousey and just put her down right in the middle, and that was it. So we will have to see if this truly is the end of Ronda's run in WWE, or if she comes back to continue on with her feud with Shayna, where they have maybe another match and then a blow-off to where then it's officially done and Ronda's gone. But if this is it for Ronda, this was a pretty good way to go out. Just get choked out by one of your best friends on one of WWE's biggest pay-per-views. If this is it for Ronda, cheers to you. You did well. I thought your second run was kind of boring, but overall, I did enjoy Ronda Rousey for the most part in professional wrestling. At the end there, it was not so great, but overall, I still think she did a pretty tremendous job. So we'll see if this is, in fact, the end for Ronda Rousey. After that, we had the Intercontinental Championship match. Gunther defending against Drew McIntyre. This, in my mind, is and was the final hurdle to Honky Tonk Man's record. I've been saying that for weeks, that the only real threat at this point is SummerSlam, and even SummerSlam feels like a crazy threat. Even here at this show, on a show this big against an opponent the caliber of McIntyre, I still think it would have been a huge rib to take the title off of Gunther this close to September 8th. But this still is a big hurdle. And once Gunther got over this hurdle, I felt like it was going to be a done deal. The match with McIntyre was tremendous. What do you guys think in the chat between Cody and Brock and Drew and Gunther? Which match did you like better? I put up a Twitter poll tonight, and it's neck and neck. It is neck and neck, 50.9% for Cody and Brock, 49.1% for Gunther and Drew. Literally neck and neck. Let me retweet that so we get a few more votes on it, because both of those matches I enjoyed. This one, I think the in-ring match between Gunther and Drew was better than what Cody and Brock gave us, because Cody and Brock was a lot about that count-out story, where here, this was just a match. Two big, huge badasses beating the hell out of each other, and they did. I loved the finishing sequence here. Both men are up on the top rope, and Gunther throws Drew off. He crotches himself and falls. Gunther then hits Drew with his big splash, and immediately then picks him up, hits him with a stiff as fuck clothesline, and then picks him immediately up again and power bombs him for the win. So it was like the crotch, the splash, the lariat, the power bomb, boom, 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 boom. Drew couldn't get up from that, and it was a clean victory right in the middle of the ring. Gunther pins McIntyre. I have questions. Number one is WWE and Drew McIntyre parting ways. His contract apparently is up at the beginning of 2024 or the end of this year, and we haven't heard of any contract extensions, I don't think. And so if McIntyre is still going to wait and play free agency and weigh his options, you know, they're probably using him here to put some people over. But if he's going to stick around, I think McIntyre should. I hope that he does. And I would like to see Drew McIntyre turn heel. Maybe this could be the beginning of a McIntyre heel turn. I kind of pitched even having a double turn in this match, have McIntyre turn heel and Gunther turn face. But in the end, it was Gunther winning, and it was awesome, and I loved it. And now Gunther has a clear path to September 8th. Some people told me, well, wait, you still got to get past Payback. I'm not worried about Payback. Fuck Payback in its ass. Nothing's going to happen at Payback. Gunther's not going to drop the belt on SmackDown. He's home free. He's going to be the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. If he is not, then I'll tell you what, I'll shave my head. I'll shave all my hair off my head if Gunther does not break Honky Tonk Man's record. You heard it here first. Match number 6, which was the World Heavyweight Championship match, Seth Rollins defending against Finn Balor. This one was a little bit disappointing. I was hoping for a Finn Balor victory. They've been playing up a lot about the 7 years ago, 2016. Finn Balor even had 7 painted on his arm, and probably where the injury occurred to him. And I was really hoping we would see a title change here, because I felt like it would be hard not to, with Balor getting the title shot and with Damian Priest running around there with the briefcase. And I've also said that part of the reason I thought they sent Dominic down to NXT to win that North American title was for the big visual of all of the Judgment Day members with championships and Priest with the briefcase. But that's not what we got. Balor and Seth, they had their match. It was pretty good. We knew we were just waiting for somebody to come out there, and it turned out to be all members of Judgment Day. Damian Priest came down first, and then Dominic and Rhea Ripley hopped the barricade and also distracted the referee while Priest was busy trying to help out Balor. Now, Seth, it was basically 4-on-1 here, and he was still able to foil all of this somehow. Priest, I guess, tried to offer the briefcase to Balor as a weapon, I think more than once. And Balor's kind of like, oh, what are you doing? And Seth was able to capitalize and take advantage of that for a couple of near falls. And then finally at the end, Priest kind of has some sort of frustration, and he throws the briefcase in the ring, seemingly to toss it to Balor to use as a weapon. Dom and Rhea are still out there. Referee's all distracted with them. And then Balor is kind of still recovering, and he's getting up with the briefcase right in front of him. Seth sees this and comes in and delivers a pretty good-looking stomp to Balor, whose face goes right into the briefcase, and Seth is able to pin him and retain the World Heavyweight Championship. I was really hoping for something to happen here, and Rollins was still in pretty good physical condition after the match, so there was no cash-in after either. So I thought one of those two men would walk out with the championship, Balor or Priest. And instead, Seth Rollins survived and retained. A lot of fans felt like he should. I heard a lot of people saying Rollins shouldn't drop the belt yet. He just won it. I can understand that. Sure, no problem. But I would be fine with this title changing hands a little frequently. Wouldn't be too bad if he dropped it. I wouldn't think it would be too early, but I can understand why people would feel that way. So I couldn't really disagree, so to speak. But Rollins now retains. There's problems now within the Judgment Day. Balor is going to probably blame Damian Priest for what happened. So it makes me wonder if Priest now wants to try to cash in the briefcase, if Balor will screw him. If Seth Rollins gets attacked on Monday night, Priest comes out to cash in, and then Balor, maybe not even on purpose, maybe it's just, karma, maybe he comes out to try to help Damian Priest, but he screws up, or it's sketchy somehow, just like Priest did to him tonight, and whatever Balor does costs Priest to lose, and now they both screwed each other, and that could be the final implosion of Judgment Day. Then we have the women's triple threat match. Asuka defending her women's championship against Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair. We had a feeling that there could be potential for a cash in here. I said in the predictions that one of those two briefcases will be cashed in, but not both. So once Balor and Seth ended with Seth retaining and no cash in and no title change, I was like, okay, that means one of two things. We're either getting a title change in the main event, or we're getting a title change here. And we got an excellent finish, but it didn't start out that way. It started out really slow, and the match was not looking good. It just had a slow pace to it. A lot of the spots were way too protected and looked way too, I hate to say the word fake, but they did. And then there was a little bit of confusion when I think Charlotte did one of her nip-ups or kip-ups, and the back of her gear just sprung open. And as soon as she did it, I see her whole back. I'm like, holy shit, her whole entire top just came off. And it looked like it ripped. So she immediately goes to the corner and puts her back up against the corner. And I'm like, what do they do? What do they do? Because I thought Charlotte had to leave the match, but I guess it was a zipper. So she kind of goes over to referee Jessica Carr, who zips her up and gets her back in. But the whole time it was a stupid spot. It drove me nuts. Before that happened, Asuka and Bianca are both in the corner getting ready to sell that stupid handspring shit or whatever Charlotte does in the corner. But when Charlotte nips up to execute that move, that's when her wardrobe snaps. So as Jessica's zipping her up, this whole thing takes a good 30 seconds. Bianca and Asuka are still selling in the corner instead of just abandoning that spot and aborting and going to the next thing. They stayed there and still allowed Charlotte to deliver a kick or whatever it was, and it just looked terrible. I was over here just with my face in my my hands because it was just embarrassing. I'm like, this is not good. This whole match is just not good. But then they kicked things up. Then it was in to the second half of the match and things started getting better. First thing they did, I guess, was Bianca Belair took the bump. She took the bump over the top rope. She had been favoring her knee all night. And when she came down, she kind of smacked the ring steps. It made a very loud noise. And she starts really, really selling the knee. And some people in the chat said it was legit, but I was like, guys, I'm telling you, I've been watching wrestling 40 years. This is a work 100%. All the hints are there, the way the camera's positioning and all the things they're doing. It's a work. It's not a legit injury. She's fine. So then other officials come out to attend to her and they start escorting her to the back, but the whole time the camera is staying with her. And she keeps looking back to the ring. I'm like, see, she's going to come back. They're setting up the story right here. She's going to come back. And now if she wins this, she's got that bad knee, which is going to be the open door for Io Sky. So we had all this shit spotted during the watch along. So now Bianca decides to push the doctors away. She comes back in the ring. And at the time, I think Charlotte has got the figure 8 on Asuka, and I think that's when Bianca goes to the top rope, right? And did she hit a 450? Whatever she hit, it looked perfect and nailed Charlotte with that. That was great. Later on, then Charlotte would put the figure 8 on Bianca on her bad knee. And as Charlotte does the handspring part of the figure 8, Asuka comes in and mists her in her upside down face. That was really good. Anyway, Bianca Belair wins the championship. Now, I did not want to see Bianca Belair win the championship, but when she did, I knew exactly what that meant. They weren't just going to put the belt back on Bianca Belair again. So the fact that she won it and they set up the knee injury, I'm like, here we go. We were just waiting for it. And sure enough, Io Sky's music hits. She comes down, she cashes in, and she hits the big moonsault and pins Bianca Belair, wins the championship. Dakota Kai comes in the ring to celebrate with her along with Bayley. And of course, the three of them made their re-debut last year at this very event in Nashville. I think in that opening match of Bianca and Becky. And 1 year later, coming back to win the title here was great. Bianca rolled up Asuka. Thank you, Mikey. Charlotte. That's right. Charlotte still had the figure 8 locked in. That's right. And then it was a roll up from there. Thank you for that. And thank you for that, Doug Unfunny. It was a 450 off the top rope. If I was home watching this by myself, my notes would be much more detailed because I'd be typing them, but I was hanging out and with you guys chilling and handwriting everything down. So that was awesome. I absolutely loved that. Congrats to Io Sky and congrats to all women involved here, because for those watching the watch along earlier, the live reaction, I was shitting on the first half of this match. I'm like, this is bad. This is terrible. This is awkward. The wardrobe malfunction, all this stuff is just I'm not feeling it. It's just really, really underwhelming of a match. And I didn't really think it was their fault. I thought maybe the match positioning also had something to do with that right after a World Heavyweight Championship match. Some fans might be disappointed that Balor lost, so the crowd felt a little flat, but boy, did they perk up, and boy, did all three of those women finish strong. Everything they did from the minute Bianca hit that 450, or I should say from the minute Bianca took that spill to the outside and she smacked the ring steps with her hand or whatever it did to really convince the audience that was a legit injury. From then on, everything was hit perfectly. Like they really, really did well. And congratulations to Io Sky. I couldn't be happier that we got a cash in here and a cash in with a women's wrestler that I very much like. And congrats to her. So awesome there. New women's champion on SmackDown. And that leaves us with the main event. Roman Reigns defending his undisputed Universal Championship against Jey Uso in a tribal combat match. Tribal combat is what goes on wrestling Twitter every damn day. But this is going to be an actual fight here. And both men make their entrances. Jey comes out first, and Roman Reigns had a very notable, pleasantly surprising entrance, coming out there with his championship belt around his waist, and Paul Heyman carrying no titles, just the one. Finally. I mean, I guess maybe they were phasing those things out, these other two belts, but they looked obnoxious out there. It was way too much championship and enough with the 100 belts. And I kind of wondered if that was maybe a clue or a sign that Jey Uso might actually win the title. Because, for example, hypothetically, if they were booking him to win the championship tonight, then wouldn't it look weird with him holding 3 championships up in the air, 3 belts? No, just the one. So I thought that might be evidence that Jay actually is going to win here. The match was no holds barred. The introductions were really fun. You get the championship introductions and you have Roman and Jay stare down in the ring, and Roman's got his thing and he's holding in his hands and he tells Jay, he goes, if you beat me, I give you this. He does, pointing to Heyman. Heyman doesn't do it. The referee doesn't do it. I do it. I give you this if you beat me. It was just a sign of respect. And then the bell rang and the match was on, and anything goes in this thing. Now, they started out with, kind of like Cody and Brock, Roman pretty physically dominant over Jay early on. Took him a while to get some weapons involved. We saw a kendo stick first. Then they pulled out some tables and then some chairs. Jey Uso wound up taking out a good 20 chairs and throwing them in the ring, a big bed of chairs laying down in the ring in addition to the tables and everything we had. But this match was all about what they were going to do in the finish. Now, there was a couple of really good near falls here, a lot of spears, super kicks. Roman was down a couple of times. Jay had him dead to rights, but Roman was able to kick out, and Jay was surviving as well. I think he survived a Superman punch and a spear. And then when they start brawling through the crowd and they get all the way over to some production equipment, that's when Solo Sikoa shows up. He attacks Jey Uso, puts him through a table on the concrete, and then drags his body all the way back to the ring, where he lifts him up, and Roman is instructing him to Samoan spike Jay, and they're going to do that finishing move they do, where Solo spikes him simultaneously with Roman spearing him. So they go for that spot. Solo goes for the spike, but Jay pulls Solo in front of the spear. Solo eats the spear. Jay, I think, hits Roman with a super kick and goes to the top and hits the splash for a near fall. Crazy stuff there. And we knew that whatever was going to happen here was going to involve family members. So we saw no elders, no Rikishi, Alpha, Sika, no Rock. There was some possibilities that The Rock might show up tonight. We didn't see any of that. And we did see, though, a little bit of possible teasing more issues between Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns, because after Roman speared Solo, he looked to be pretty pissed at Roman Reigns after that. And then Roman took a spear from Jay through the barricade. And then Jay finally gets Roman back in the ring. And I think Solo was down. He's out of the picture, whatever's going on there. And I forgot if Jay hit the Superman punch or a spear. I'm sorry, if he hit the super kick or a spear, or if he splashed from the top rope. Whatever he did, as soon as he pinned Roman Reigns, I knew what was going to happen, because his feet were laying towards the ring apron and the camera was not showing that part of the ring. And I'm like, somebody's going to pull him out. And sure enough, 1, 2, Jay's leg gets grabbed, pulled out of the ring by a hooded figure, and it turned out to be Jimmy Uso, which I didn't love, because I felt like that was a scenario that we kind of anticipated a little bit. We felt like Jimmy Uso returning to turn on Jay could be a possibility. I would love it if we could get a Jimmy and Jay WrestleMania match, but that is way too far in advance. They're going to have to get a match way quicker than that, probably at Payback. It's going to be Jimmy and Jey Uso, and Jimmy Uso now sides with Roman Reigns. It definitely looks like Solo could be going on a babyface turn, or still maybe being reluctantly loyal to Roman. Paul Heyman was out there sobbing and weeping and crying the whole time. Jay, don't do this, don't do this. He was brilliant. Roman's able to spear him and pin him and retain the title. And the crowd knew it too. Even when the ref was counting 3, you could tell the crowd was like, ah, fuck. We knew that was going to happen. And Roman is once again walking out of a pay-per-view as champion. It's about 3 years now. He returned 3 years ago at SummerSlam, and then I think he won the title at Payback, right? And he's held it ever since. And maybe Payback will be some sort of a 3-year anniversary. I have that right? Didn't he win it at Payback in 2020 in the Thunderdome? Right? So maybe Payback is set up to be some sort of 3-year celebration for Roman Reigns. I mean, they said he wasn't advertised, but I think he should be at Payback, since that's where it all started. And we'll see what happens. Maybe it's Jimmy and Jey Uso with Roman Reigns as the referee. I don't know. We'll see how this carries over now. The Bloodline story on Friday on SmackDown. What is said, what is done, if Roman's going to be there. If Roman's going to be off TV, we just don't know. Roman, I feel like, might not be on SmackDown because he might not need to be. The issue is going to be between Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso, and Jey is going to want answers, and Roman might not even need to be there. We will see if he is or not on Friday, but all in all, it was a fun SummerSlam. I enjoyed the show. You guys actually gave it better grades than I thought. I was slightly disappointed with Balor not winning the championship, and I think maybe I was hoping for more out of Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, but other than that, Cody and Brock was fantastic. Drew and Gunther was great. Ricochet, Logan Paul was great. And even the main event, slightly predictable. I don't think anybody ever truly believed that Jey Uso was going to win the title, but I wanted it to happen, man. I really did. I would have been happy with Sammy, Cody, or Jey winning in any of those scenarios. I think all three of those would have created a big moment had you decided to pull the trigger on any of those. But Roman remains champ. At this point, I feel like WrestleMania 40 is going to be the date. So thank you so much for being here tonight, guys. Another SummerSlam in the books for us as a group. My God, how many SummerSlams have I been doing this now? 13 or 14 of them? Unreal. It was a blast as always, and I will catch you guys tomorrow night for Bash at the Beach 98. Peace.